from flowing here, Marcus and the rest of the EARS group. For 14 years, Edmond, Oklahoma was my home. And many of you that are on this Zoom meeting tonight were so good to me and my family, and accepting me into Oklahoma City, and most importantly into Edmond, and to this great club that I have such a fondness for. And it's so great to hear 160 members that are part of the EARS organization. And I miss the siren tests. I miss the breakfasts on Saturday morning. I miss the Elmer net. I miss setting up temporary antennas in a very restricted HOA so I could get on and talk to KM5GZ on 10 meters. I miss all of it. And I'm so thrilled and look forward to Sporadic E every June and July so that I can talk to you guys on 10 meters from here. But I must say that since 7 years ago, I departed Edmond. We sold the house, and life here at K3LR has flourished. As CEO of DX Engineering, the fastest growing amateur radio supplier in the world. We've had tremendous success, and I'm just getting started. We've built a big team. We're now hiring phone salespeople in Texas and in Nevada and in Georgia, locations where Summit Racing has physical locations. I'd love to hire phone sales help in Oklahoma. I know there's a lot of talent in those 160 members that are part of the Edmond Amateur Radio Society, but unfortunately not yet. But we branched out from Ohio, and as all of you have adjusted your life at DX Engineering is now virtual. All of our employees that operate on the phone are done from home. Our manufacturing facility obeys all the CDC rules, and we've been very fortunate that everything has been maintained. We're having trouble getting equipment. That's no secret to anybody that is ordering stuff online. The supply chain has been very hard hit. We're doing our best, but I never thought I'd see a day we would run out of coax. We buy hundreds of thousands of feet of coax, and as fast as we get it in, I have 3 manufacturing facilities around the world that manufacture our DX Engineering coax, and we just cannot keep up with the demand. So I've been very thankful to the support that the Edmond Club has given me at DX Engineering, and the word of mouth, and I certainly look forward to visiting you next July for Ham Holiday. I was supposed to be the keynote speaker this past July, and I hope that the committee will see fit to re-invite me again in 2021. God willing, we have a vaccine, and we can get back to some sort of normal. So with that, I could go on and on. And so let's talk a little bit about this station here. Several members of EARS and in the Oklahoma City area have visited here, and one of them is Ron, KC5QCV, and also WA9AFM. But I'm sitting in front of the 80 meter position here at K3LR, and I'm going to take the camera over and show you a little bit more about it. Just have to, all these wires for a wireless technology, you know how it goes. So let's take a look at what's going on at 80 meters here. There are 2 stations here. There are 2 transceivers. These are ICOM IC7851s, and they are dedicated to 80 meters. They've never been on any other band. This is the run station. So this is the station that is responsible for calling CQ during the DX contest. Of course, it has its own logging computer, its amplifier. This is the only multi-band amplifier here at K3LR. This was given to me from a dear friend. This is an Alpha 77 DX. It's a single tube 8877, but it has never been on any other band but 80 meters here at K3LR. And then here's the antenna switch that switches the verticals. We have 2 4-squares that we use on 80 meters. And so by using these push buttons, we can aim the vertical antenna system in 4 different directions. And in the 45-degree and 225-degree area, we can use 2 4-squares. And then right beside it is the another IC 7851 that is used as the search and pounce station, which calls all the stations that are calling CQ. And it has its own amplifier over here, which is a single band 8877 that I built about 25 years ago. And it has its own 4,000 volt power supply, which is on the floor. And of course, its own logging computer. And here are the 2 watt meters for 80 run and 80 mult. And we also have an 8-circle receiving system here for the, these are short verticals that we can aim in 45-degree increments. So that's the 80-meter station. But Marcus, I have a slide deck that I'd like to show you. And it'll explain a little bit more about what we're doing here at K3LR. So if you can allow me to share my screen, and we'll get into that.
I think you can.
Let's see how this works. There we go.
It's coming. There it is, yeah.
You see my screen okay? And we're going to start the slideshow. Okay. So this is me when I was 13 years old. I had just passed my general class amateur radio license. I was licensed when I was 12 as a novice. And this is my bedroom at my parents' house. And using a Heathkit DX60A and a Drake 2C receiver, I was working the world on CW. I like to say that my first language is CW. It is what I enjoy overwhelmingly in this hobby, and I'm on CW every day. Especially when they told me to shelter in place, I said, have at it. I'll be on the air all the time. And so every break I get, every lunch break I have, before I get online for work in the morning, I'm on CW. K3LR is located right up against the Ohio-Pennsylvania border, and I'm equidistant between Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Erie, and Akron, Ohio. And in normal times, it takes me about 50 minutes to drive into the office at DX Engineering, which is just east of Akron. And if you're ever traveling on Interstate 80, the 13 towers are very visible right from I-80. I have had people that park on the side of the road and hop over the fence and knock on the door. And so that happens. And I've never said no to anybody who wanted to stop by and have a tour. And the thing that makes this QTH work is there is a big fall off in the direction of Europe very quickly. Within a mile going to Europe, it falls off almost 300 feet down to a riverbed. And it also falls off towards Japan. In a DX contest, over 70% of our QSOs are from Europe, and about 10 to 12% are from Japan. So those are very, very important directions. And this is just looking overhead. In the middle of the this photo is the 2 4-squares that I just talked about for 80 meters. And you can see 4 verticals and then 4 more verticals. And it's broadside on Europe. And then at the bottom of the photo is the very tall 10-meter or 40-meter tower. It doesn't look that tall when you're looking overhead. And then in the middle of the property is the 15-meter tower and the 10-meter tower, and then also at the bottom of this photo, the 20-meter tower. And so let's take a look at the 40-meter tower. This is the tallest tower on the property. At the top is the 9-element Oklahoma City 10-meter killer antenna for June and July to talk to KM5GZ. It's 9 elements on a 60-foot boom. Bob has got his coordinates in there, so I think I aim at a 253 degrees, and we call it an elephant gun. And it's a killer antenna for getting into Edmond, and it also is great for DX stations. Sometimes it's the only antenna that we can hear DX when 10 meters is not very good. There are 3 40-meter beams on this tower. These are full-size 40-meter beams. The reflectors are 75 feet long. The boom is 50 feet long. They weigh 410 pounds. And it is the largest 40-meter antenna array in the world. It's 260 over 190 over 120 feet. And there are beams on here for 20 meters that we use for the second station, and also 4 antennas for 10 meters. And there's 138 square feet of wind load on this tower. And this is what that 40-meter tower looks like from my neighbor's house. So they've got a great view of this tower too. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But I've got great neighbor relations here. I've never had problems. And this station has been here for 33 years now. And just to get a little idea of the size of the tower and the size of the antennas. And of course, there's the DX barn in the background. That DX sign, when my son was in Scouts down in Oklahoma, we were going through Sulphur, Oklahoma on the way to a scout camp. And there was an abandoned DX gas station. And so I asked around until I found who owned that sign. And I bought that sign, put it in a crate, and shipped it up here. And it sits as a reminder of my great time in Oklahoma, the DX gas sign. Another shot of the 40-meter tower that has 10-meter beams aimed down the tower. And in the middle of this tower is a horizontal Waller flag antenna, which is a listening antenna. It's a receive-only antenna for 160 meters. It's rotatable. It rotates around the tower. And sometimes it's the best antenna on 160. And if you look up at this tower, and especially if the clouds are going by, you feel like you're going to fall over. But there's a lot of aluminum and a lot of rotators on this tower. The 20-meter tower has an 80-meter dipole that sits at the top of the mast. And there are steps that we can climb to go to the top of the mast. And that dipole is 108 feet long, so it's a little shorter than full size. There are some loading coils there. And then it's a 6-element 20-meter beam is right there at the top of the tower. And that's one of 4 20-meter beams on this tower. And there are more 20-meter beams down the side of the tower. And in the middle of the tower are 2 40-meter Moxon antennas. These are 2-element antennas that are a little bit shortened. They're 46-foot elements instead of the 75 feet. And you can see the T's on there that do the loading that allow the smaller physical size, but electrically they work very, very well. We use these on the second station on 40 meters. And looking up at the busy 20-meter tower with the ring rotators that allow every antenna here to be rotated around the tower. They sit on pulleys and rollers, and the motors actually can move these antennas 360 degrees around the tower. And look at the 10-meter stack for the run station. These are 4 8-element Yagis on 50-foot booms for 10 meters. Back in 2018 during field day, and we've been operating field day for our local club here, in 2018, the Saturday night of field day was actually 1:30 in the morning. There was a party at the next door neighbor's house, and one of the younger fellows had a little too much beer to drink, and he got off the road and he hit the guy anchor on the 20-meter tower, which caused damage to the antennas and the tower. It had to be completely rebuilt from the ground up, new tower and new antennas. And so this is the crane doing the work. The old tower is in the foreground. The new tower is in the background there, and we're just starting to stack the tower. And this is a 100-ton crane, goes up to 300 feet. And you know it's big when they bring a crane to build the crane. And that's what happened here. But definitely an oversized load, and stacking the new tower with Philly strand. This is the top of the tower using the DX Engineering thrust bearing. And this is all the towers here are made by Pyrod. They're solid steel legs, very, very strong. And I think if it would have been pipe tower, it might have come down, having the guy wire get hit. So this is the new Pyrod tower getting ready to go up. New 6-element 20-meter beams getting ready to go up. And here's the crane taking up the top 20-meter beam to the top of the tower. And the crane lifting it in place, the two riggers at the top, attaching it to the mast. And you can see those steps that go up to the 80-meter dipole there on the 3-inch chromoly mast. And down on the right-hand side, you can see the beacon. Because this tower exceeds 200 feet, it has to be painted and lit per the FAA, and it's registered with the FCC. And we did FaceTime to get the rig expert output to check the antenna. So we did FaceTime to the tower crew up at 230 feet. I wanted to make sure before we released the crane that the antenna was going to work. So we were able to get a VSWR shot right through FaceTime using great wireless technology. And so here is the driven element of that big 40-meter beam. In 2019, I replaced all 3 40-meter beams with 3 new 40-meter beams, better construction, updated design, and this is the driven element of the 40-meter beam. The center is 2.5 inches outside diameter, very, very heavy duty. And you can see that the elements actually bend down because they're so heavy. There's about 3 foot of sag in these elements because they're so long, but they're very strong. And this is a 105-mile-an-hour design. Not good enough for Oklahoma, but good enough for Western Pennsylvania. So you could just see how large these 40-meter beams are. The reflector is on the left side, and then the driven element, the first director is very close. That is for the OWA design, and then the second director. Bring back that big crane, and here we go to replace the 40-meter beam on the top of the tower. And what a glorious day it was. And everything works good. This is one of 4 geochrons that are here in the shack. This is on an 84-inch 4K Ultra TV. It's the biggest and best TV in the house, and it's dedicated to the geochron. We got to know where the sun is. It's all about the sun and knowing where all the prefixes are. And so that sits in between the 10 and 15 meter stations. You know, a lot of people run 1 5/8 for 70 centimeters for 440 megahertz. We run VHF around here is 21 megahertz and 28 megahertz. And so we run 1 5/8 for 10 meters and 15 meters, and also 160, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But big coax, low loss, trying to maximize our efficiency. Speaking of 160, here is the tower on 160 meters. It's 120 foot tall, and you would say, oh, geez, it's just a quarter wave monopole. Nope, it's actually got 4 parasitic wires around it. and I designed this antenna as a 3-element vertical Yagi for 160 meters. And so what we do in this case is if you float, these are all cut as directors, and the T provides the top loading, that horizontal slant, and then the vertical sections come down to a box. And if you float all of these, you get an omnidirectional antenna. In this case, the 2 yellow elements are the parasitics that are active. And so the right-hand one we ground, and that makes it a director. It's got a radial system headed at 45 degrees, so it's headed towards Europe. The left-hand yellow element, we put a series inductor in it, makes it a reflector. That gives you a reflector. The tower is a driven element, and then a director, 3 elements aimed on Europe. And with relay, and the 2 blue elements are floating, we can rotate this in 4 different directions just by switching relays. Gives 5.5 dB of forward gain and over 30 dB of front to back on 160 meters. This is a parasitic wire box with the radio field. This is at the tower, the driven element, a pi rod tower. There is 1,800 feet of 1 5/8" to get to this tower. And there's a ceramic insulator, and the tower actually floats on that. You can actually go to the tower and move it with your hands, because otherwise it would crack the insulator due to the stress. There are 360 radials underneath this driven element. There are 3 120 radial systems all on top of each other there. And this is on 80 meters. This is the radial system that is used on the 8 towers that are on 80. And it's all broadcast style with straps. Here's the 4 middle towers, and you can see all the ground straps. I've recently have replaced the high towers with aluminum tower that's all welded together. So there's 60-foot towers with stingers on top, and all the sections are welded together. So there's no chance of any resistance. And here we are tuning the top stingers with the lift to make sure that they're perfect. And boy, they are beautiful towers that go on that same radial systems. And you can see the DX Engineering insulators here. There's 4 of the towers in a 4 square, and the other 4 towers. And we have good alignment gear to make sure that these 4 squares are optimized using the Comtech Systems combiner box from DX Engineering. We also have 4 squares for listening on 20 meters and 15 meters. And for 160 and 80 meters, we have the high Z 8 circle array. This is 8 23-foot verticals. And this is the center box where all the brains are. And here are the delay lines and all the combiner boxes for those 8 antennas, the chokes to make sure that the antennas stay, or the feed lines stay very quiet. Here I am with my lifelong friend, Tim, W3YQ. And we spend many weekends together working on antenna systems here at K3LR and wiring up all the chokes and all the combiner boxes. This is the base of one of the receive verticals, and it's just 23 feet of aluminum. And inside the box is a preamp, and then chokes for the signal and chokes for the power that are going in. And here are the element amplifiers that we use. We have a 4 square and an 8 circle on 160 meters and 80 meters. Inside the choke box, this is a very high common mode impedance choke to make sure that the shield on these feed systems does not pick up any RF of any sort. 27 turns on a number 31 toroid. The house here at K3LR is a lot different than the house I had in Oak Tree in Edmond. This house was built in 1865, and I have completely restored it, including the stairs that go from the ground section to the second floor. I have replicated the Marconi stairs from the Marconi operator's house up in Connecticut, and this is This is a dream come true. Everything has been added here. Electricity wasn't invented. Gas, water, everything has been added to the house. When I bought the house, there wasn't even heat upstairs, and I didn't know it until we moved in. But it's a great radio location. That's the reason we bought this. We have our own 50 kVA power transformer, and if that fails, we have a 50 kilowatt Kohler generator. This is an 8-cylinder Chevy engine. It takes 7 seconds from the time the power goes off until we are on the generator. And we've never had to be on the generator during a contest, but it has come in handy at other times when we've had a power outage. This is the shack where I am at K3LR, 11 operating positions, 2 on every band, except for 160 where there's only 1. And this is looking at the 80-meter position where I'm sitting now on the left-hand side, and then 160 is straight ahead. And there are 2 portals where the coax comes in. This is the southeast cable entrance, and then the northeast where all of the hard lines and feed lines and control lines come in. And we have 13 8-foot ground rods that are in the floor here. And that provides an excellent ground right underneath the operator desks. And we have operators from all over the world that visit here and operate during these DX contests. And here's Ward Silver, N0AX. He's the guy that wrote the book Ham Radio for Dummies. And Doug Grant, K1DG, just wrote a new book on contesting. And my longtime friend Phil, K3UA, on the left, operating 15 meters here. And Dan, N6MJ, one of the best contesters in the world, from Los Angeles, California, that operates here. I like the Green Heron rotor control boxes. They control all the rotators here. There are 28 Green Heron boxes here at K3LR to control all the rotators. There's a single band amplifier. This is the station I use to work KM5GZ in June. This is the 10-meter station that has that 275-foot elephant gun antenna, and that this is it right here. There are 4 antennas here, but I use that top one on the left-hand side to go to Edmond to talk to Bob. And the push-button control panel for the 40-meter antennas. Here we are feeding all 3 40s that are out there, so 1/3 of the power is going to each antenna, and the operator can choose how things are situated. This is on 15 CW with the 2 operators working together. Only 1 transmitter at a time can be on. There is an interlock that makes sure that only 1 transmitter is active. In this case, they're feeding the 120, 80, and 40 footer on 15, which is also known as the bottom 3. And there's also a heads-up display on their watt meter that shows them which is active. I like the Drake W4 watt meters, but we actually wore out the SO239, so we had to replace them with brand new new silver-plated SO239s. Here's the rotor stack for 40 meters, and DL1QQ brought over a mug from Germany. It says size matters, and boy, it does on 40 meters. I've had recordings sent to me from how we sound in Bangkok, Thailand on 40 meters, and it is just spectacular. One of those guys that hopped the fence and parked on I-80, when he saw those 40-meter beams, he said, you know, you don't need an antenna that big to work 40 meters. I says, I know you don't need an antenna that big, but it's a whole lot of fun when you have something that is that big on 40. And so we do okay there. Here's another one of the single band amplifiers that I've built. That's a single 8877, runs 1500 watts output. What's special about this photo is the buffalo. That came from my good friend Ken Adams, K5KA, who lived up in northern Oklahoma, and I visited him many times, and I miss him dearly. He gave me this as a gift before he died, and I'll never forget K5KA from Oklahoma. Each one of these amplifiers has a 4,000 volt power supply that sits on the floor. And here I am at the 20 run station. There's the 4 green herons that control the 4 high stack for 20. And the 2 stations on 20, the multiplier or the search and pounce on the left and the run station on the right. And let's see here. Here's 10 meters, N3GJ, longtime 10 meter operator, and 160 meters. And I do 160 meter CW during the CWDX contests. And John N2NC does the phone contests. Some of the receiving controls on 160. Here's Sandy, DL1QQ from Germany, one of the best CW operators in the world. She comes and operates here. And we use the Bose QC15 headsets. Noise canceling is very important. We use all IC7851 radios here. It's got the best performance and great ergonomics. This is another great story about Oklahoma. I met Al Plant at a scouting meeting very soon after we moved to Oklahoma City. And Al has continued to be one of my very best friends. And he has been coming here twice a year to operate 75 meters with me. I love Al. He's a great human being. He helped my son with his Eagle project down there in Oklahoma City. And I look forward to seeing him back here once we get by this COVID stuff. This is Al at 4:30 in the morning. Taking a little power nap. Once the band closes to Europe, it's pretty tough to stay awake. It's also a good shot of the Nook computers that we have switched to now. These are Intel fully functional Windows computers, about 4 inches by 4 inches by 1.5 inches thick, and they are tremendous. They run on 12 volts, and they're very good. And they mount on the back of the monitors, and they just work great. On 80 meters, we get to share the 2 4 squares between the 2 stations by using this innovative switch box. It's the 80 meter XL twin turbo plus 2. And these are the filters that beat down the harmonics. They're the size of caskets. And one of the operators said, this is where harmonics go to die. And so it does a great job of keeping the interference down. When the operators aren't operating, they are hanging out at the DX barn, and we light the DX sign up at the end of each contest. We have a lot of traditions here at K3LR. Inside the DX barn is a complete facility, sleeping for 8. Also, my 100,000 QSL cards are in the back of this large bedroom, and I've asked that these QSL cards that are in those nice containers, I'm going to have an oversized casket when I die, because I finally will have time to sort these buggers. And but my life collection is in the back of the DX barn there. And we have a great time here at K3LR. The operators are happy. We're 48 hours on the air, and we eat good. Sometimes we have to sleep in the middle of the night when the bands are not so good. We use the DX Engineering foot switch. This is the lockout box that makes sure that we only have 1 transmitter at a time on. And there's a little red LED that comes on to let you know that the run station is transmitting. And if it's off, then the search and pounce guys can go ahead. We also control our 4 squares off these push button boxes. These are the guys having a good time. Here's Otis from Puerto Rico. He's fluent in Spanish, Portuguese, and English, and it's great. So he can switch languages and work the DX stations. And conditions on 10 meters have not been very good, and so these guys have had to use a lot of patience. Justin G4TSH from London, England, comes in November and loves to operate 80 CW. You can see all the stations are manned here in the K3LR room. Last year, I did a thing called Team Exuberance, where we had an all-youth team come in to K3LR for the WPX contest. And this is Kat, KM4ATT, and Bryant, KG5HVO, and also K6JO and VE7DZO. So we had 3 different countries represented here. And this is after the contest, and you say, well, what are they doing? Are they looking through the logs? They were signing thank you notes to all the people that sent them money through the GoFundMe that were able to defray their costs of flying into K3LR. And they had put together a whole project plan, and they felt that they would do really good if they could work 3,800 QSOs. They worked 6,000 QSOs, and all the kids did all the operating. All I did was make sure that they were fed, and they made 6,000 QSOs. Not only were they first in the United States, they were first in North America, and they were number 4 in the world. And nobody is over the age of 21. So HA8RT from Hungary, VE7DZO from British Columbia, K6JO from California, KG5HVO from Alabama, NN1C from Massachusetts, and KM4ATT from Pennsylvania. And it was KM4ATT's idea to do this. She said, could I bring my friends over and operate a DX contest? And I said, sure. I'd never thought it would happen. And look, it happened, and it was a great success. Here's Michael, W3MLJ, during the 13 Colonies event. So we have had a lot of youth here at K3LR. We have visitors. Here's a visitor from Finland. All the time we're having people. Here's Riley Hollingsworth, K4ZDH. He came in to do an inspection at K3LR. White glove, no problems. No problems whatsoever. And also Hal, W8HC. I believe in analytics. We track everything here at K3LR, how we do in contests since 1992. How many QSOs, how many multipliers, how did we finish, what can we do better? This used to be our CW skimmer rack using large mainframe type computers, and now they've been replaced by the NUCs. And so the NUCs are driving the CW skimmers here at K3LR. These are Perseus receivers. These are SDRs dedicated to listening on the CW bands. Lots of RFI suppression to make sure that there's no noise. These are Accupin power supplies that are linear. There is no switching supplies here at K3LR, including iPhone chargers. Everybody is frisked when they come in the door, and I take away all the iPhone chargers. Those things create noise, and we have linear power supplies in the barn. They can charge their phones there, no problems at all. And coffee, boy, do we do coffee here. We brew coffee 1 cup at a time, and there's 30 different varieties of coffee here at K3LR. And we good. We have a chef that comes up, and he loves to smoke beef. And as N2NC told me, an army travels on its stomach. So we don't skimp on making sure everybody eats well. And Sal, WM2H from Houston, Texas, takes care of the kitchen. That's his main job. He doesn't make any QSOs. He just takes care of the cooking. And then, except for the breakfast, because he's working all day. So I make breakfast on CW, and N2NC makes breakfast on phone. And so eating well and having fun using WinTest. This is our logging program that we use. And here's just a shot of that. And this was back in the day when was only 35 QSOs made the entire weekend on 10 meters. This is during the sunspot peak when there's 170 countries worked on 10 meters. And 3,242 QSOs. So I can't wait for the sunspots to come back. I'm a voracious QSLer. Everybody we work gets a QSL card via the Bureau and also on Logbook of the World. I love t-shirts. And after the contest, we compare with the other multi stations on 3830, the real 3830. and sometimes we win a plaque. And so here's a few crew pictures. Notice Al is in the center back of this, N5UM. And ILTHRS, I love this ham radio stuff. And oh, here's another crew shot. This is what it takes to do a multi-multi for 48 hours. And the real reason we do it, we're best friends. I've got some of the absolute best friends in the world that been, some of these guys I've known for 48 years. And it's just a thrill to operate together with them. I'm very proud that the K3LR station is open to any club or organization that wants to take a tour. We, up until COVID, we've been doing almost 25 tours a year. This is the University of Pittsburgh Pit Panther Club and their faculty advisor. Their call sign is W3YI. They spent a whole day on a Saturday here looking at the antennas, getting on the air. We talked about college life. We talked about life after college. And they're all amateur radio operators, and I think they have a very bright future. So Marcus, I'm going to stop my screen sharing, and we can do Q&A if you like.
There we go. All right. If anybody in the audience has a question, you can raise your virtual hand, and I'll promote you so that you can ask Tim live. Tim, I've got to say, I'm just shocked. I wouldn't know what question to ask, where to start.
You're looking at 33 years of my life, and realize that 14 years of that I spent flying back and forth from Oklahoma City to here. We didn't miss any contests when I was in Oklahoma City.
Really cool. Not seeing any questions yet. I'll throw a question out there. So you have the stacked 40s or stacked 20s, and I assume that is so that you can get different angles of radiation coming in from the atmosphere. I mean, what's the word? Takeoff angles. You can do different takeoff angles or receive at different angles as it's refracted from the atmosphere. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. We get different angles, and we also get additional gain. For instance, on 20 meters, you know, I talked about those 4 antennas that we have. And so if you have one Yagi on 20 meters, let's say it's at 110 feet, and maybe it's got 15 dB of gain. If you put 2 of them up, you get 3 dB more gain. Now it does adjust the angle, but now you've got 18 dB of gain. To get 21 dB, another 3 dB more, you got to put 2 more. So that's how you get 4. So it's about gain, and it's about controlling the angle of arrival or the takeoff angle.
Right.
And it's also, when the band is open to Europe, we'll have all 4 antennas aimed at Europe. But sometimes the band is open to Japan and Europe at the same time. So we'll put the top 2 antennas on Japan, the bottom 2 on Europe, and we can run stations in both areas of the world simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
Amy, you might mention about when you're on Tuesday and Friday.
Ron, I think your audio is down there, down low, but I think you were asking about Tuesdays and Fridays on Facebook. Is that right?
Yeah, you might tell everybody when you're on.
So I do actually 3 Facebook and YouTube live shows a week. On Tuesdays, we're on at 12:15 Central Time. So it's 12:15, quarter after 12 on Tuesday afternoons. And of course, these are recorded, so you can always go back and look at them on YouTube, no problem. And that's Tuesdays with Tim and Jeff. And then on Thursdays, I bring on one of our manufacturers. And this week it's BHI. Last week it was Vibraplex Inrad. And the week before that it was Yaesu. And that's at 1:30 Central Time. And then on Fridays, I do a solo show on what I call the weekend special. That's 3 o'clock Central Time. And like I said, it's on the DX Engineering channels of Facebook, Live and for YouTube Live. And typically the Friday show, I highlight a project I'm working on here at K3LR. We just built 12 new Yagis, and so there's a lot of material that I did on the building of those antennas and the installation of those antennas. And now we're going to be working on the 4-square array for 80 meters, replacing some of the verticals. So that will be the upcoming show. But thank you, Ron, for reminding me.
Anybody else with a question? You can.
Yeah, how do I raise a hand?
You can just talk, Bob.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Since you're a panelist.
Oh, okay. One thing I remember Tim telling us when he was here, he said, you have to remember, I've only got one hobby. And I thought, who does that? Who can only have one hobby? And that's what he does. You know, I've got different things going. I can't do anything because I got too many hobbies. And then he said he may want to expound on this. When you was in school, the local radio station would come to take you out of school so you could repair their station, get it back on the air. What was that?
Yeah, when I when I was 15, I got my extra when I was 14, and so the popular thing to do with a couple of us was we studied to get our first-class commercial license, and I had no idea what I was going to do with it. But when I was 15, I passed that test, and so, and remember, this is still slide rule stuff. I mean, it wasn't calculator. I taught myself as a freshman in high school how to use a slide rule. But then the local high school electronics teacher was chief engineer of one of the local AM FM radio stations in Greenville, Pennsylvania. And he decided he was going to leave teaching and go work at Motorola. And so he recommended me for the job. And I said, well, you know, I got a learner's permit here, and I'll be driving soon. But I had my dad drive me to the interview, and I said, you know, the only experience I have is building Heath kits. He said, you'll do fine, you'll figure it out. What a great experience that was, because for the rest of my high school time, and I did my first 2 years of college here locally at a Penn State campus before I had to go down to University Park. So I had that job as a chief engineer of an AM and an FM radio station, and got to do all the maintenance. And I think it was my sophomore year, I was in biology class, and the phone on the wall rings. You know, this is long before cell phones. And of course, I'm at a Catholic high school, and Sister Mary says, oh, well, your AM station is off the air and you need to leave class and your dad's going to pick you up. And so, you know, I said, wow, I get to get out of school. And, you know, but yeah, so it taught me a lot. What a great experience it was. And actually, the town was so small and the radio station was so small that we were mono on FM. We weren't stereo when I started there. And I got to, he says, there's no stereo in the barn. The listeners are just on a little transistor radio in the barn. And of course, we went off the air. An FM station went off the air at 11:07 at night. We would play the news and the national anthem. And he said, let's save the electricity, and then we'll turn it back on at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, and of course, these FM transmitters are not meant to be turned off like that. You know, turn them on and leave them on. And so the morning guy would have a 6-foot stick that he would poke the plate on, because sometimes it would blow up. So what a great experience. And you talk about life's been good. One hobby, but boy, is it taken me down many roads.
Beautiful.
And one of the best roads was coming to Oklahoma City when Everett Dobson bought the little cellular one up here in Youngstown, Ohio, and he said, I have a job for you and you're going to move to Oklahoma City. And I said, let's go. What a great experience. And one of the best parts was being a member of EARS.
Love you.
Certainly grateful for your support years ago and still to today.
Yeah.
If anybody else in the audience has a question, just raise a virtual hand or type it into the chat window. I'm paying attention to that now. Thanks, Tim, for pointing that out a while ago. I'm not seeing anything. People might be falling asleep. It's 8:30 at night.
No.
Oh, Frankie says he's got something to say.
Frankie, I think he was a panelist.
Am I?
There you are. Yep.
All right. So, one thing to say: Tim Duffy is the most awesome guy in the world. Great friend, great person. When he was up here, I miss him so much. I'm pretty sure he misses a lot of us. And really good friend of my dad when he was still alive. And Tim, we miss you.
I think about your dad often, Frankie, and it's so great to see you tonight. And saw you were driving. I know you're always busy and you're always working, and I don't know if you ever do sleep, but I miss you, and I miss all the activities that you were a part of. And I do think about you often, and I'm so glad to see you tonight.
So it was good to see you too. Hopefully one day we can catch up. I've had a lot of stuff happen to me. I've been recovering from second surgery of having an accident a year and a half ago. So
But I wish you the best, Frankie.
Hopefully I'll see you again.
We will. I'll be back down. Just as soon as we get a good vaccine, I'll be back down.
Yeah. K3LR Lee has a question in the chat window. He says, how many acres do you have for your antenna field?
Actually, I've been working on expanding that. It started out with 10, and then I acquired another acre, so I got to 11, and then so some stuff became available on the other side of the road. So I bought an acre over there to start, and then I just recently, here in the last 6 months, bought another 5 acres across the road, and I already have a 4-inch conduit underneath the road. So, and I'll never forget when I went to get the permit to drill underneath the road, they said, "Oh, Mr. Duffy, you should have been here last month. We raised the fee. You're not going to like this. It was $15, now it's $20. I couldn't write that check out fast enough. Give me that permit. We're drilling underneath the road. So we got, I got a lot of hard line underneath the road and a nice conduit and room to pull more, because you never know.
Pretty cool. Any other questions? You can ask them in the chat window or raise a virtual hand. Going once, going twice, not seeing anything.
Okay, I gotta say, Tim, we miss you. I don't know what else to say. I love to get up there, but I'll never make it to Pennsylvania. I just don't see that happening. It just doesn't seem like it's going to work out. So I'm looking forward for an opportunity to see you again when you're able to make it back down to Oklahoma.
Gary, I think about all the times we spent on the repeater and the repeater antenna, and those were very special times. And I learned a lot from you and the things that you did. And I hold that very close in my heart. And I look forward to seeing you. And I, on behalf of all the EARS members, if you ever find your way up here, I've got another house. I got the DX barn. You can stay for free, stay as long as you like, and we'll take good care of you and give you great hospitality here in Western Pennsylvania. So you're always welcome. But I'm going to come back down to see you, Gary, here very soon.
Can I say something else?
Sure, Bob.
I texted Sharon a while ago and I said, you know, and I wasn't kidding. I was kind of not kidding. I said, we need to go Pennsylvania. So I've been furloughed since May, and we both got, well, I'm not going to say we got, money's no problem. We just take off. So we need to go visit, but you're so busy, I don't even want to bother you, but it won't bother us a bit.
No, come on up. Take a road trip, Bob. Come on up. I'd love to have you and Sharon come up and visit. You can stay as long as you want.
I got a mask.
The great thing about visiting here, within 5 minutes of K3LR, you've got the world's largest shoe store is here. You got the world's best buffalo chicken wings is here, and you got the world's largest chocolate store. So we have lots of tourist attractions here, and of course, come downstairs here. We'll get on the air, have some fun, and you can stay in the DX barn. And boy, it's a barrel of monkeys up here.
Thanks.
That's quite very funny. I'm not seeing any more questions, so maybe we should go ahead and end our time with Tim here. And of course, Tim, everybody out here is wishing that we're looking forward to the next time that we can see you again and hear your voice in another contest, which, there's always those. But we always hear your call sign, don't necessarily always hear you. Sometimes we hear you in there. Just depends on when, if we happen to be there when you're there. But we greatly appreciate you taking time this evening, Tim, to do this presentation for our club and your club. And we're very grateful for that. Dan Dubray, do you have anything else to add?
I'd have to unmute in order to do that. Tim, thanks very much for joining us. Your assistant who helped us out with it. Appreciate Terry's help with that. And thanks for joining us. It's been a great evening.
Thank you very much, Dan. I'm thrilled to have been asked to talk tonight. And Marcus, when you see an email from DX Engineering about a shipment that's coming to you tomorrow, don't freak out. That's 100 DX Engineering hats that are coming to you. And if you would just see that they get to EARS members, I would appreciate it.
Oh, wow.
We'll definitely do that. We've got did the tailgate already happen, Bob, or is it coming up?
Tailgates this weekend. I've already got 3 amplifiers sold, so I'm going to try to sell some more amplifiers.
All right.
I love you, Tim.
All right. Well, we'll get those hats there before the tailgate so that no problem at all. We know how to ship stuff fast.
The fun thing is I'll tell my wife, oh yeah, I ordered some stuff.
Oh yeah.
She knows to be leery when one of those boxes shows up.
What did
Got
you do
DX
now?
Engineering all over it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Tim, and for everybody who joined tonight. This is the first time that we've had an opportunity to do this, and we look forward to holding more sessions like this in the future. And again, if you have ideas for topics or presenters, please let us know and we'll see what we can do to get something scheduled. That's all that I have. If anybody else has anything else before we close out this evening's event. Going once, going twice.
Thank you, Tim. Miss you.
7-3, Dean, or 7-3, Tim.
See you,
Thanks
Gary.
again, Tim.
See you, Clay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, John, Bob, Frankie. Thanks, Marcus.
Bye, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it very much.
Love you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Not